A murder mystery tonight out of Roxborough, where a woman is accused of killing her husband. His body found lying on a plastic tarp outside.
The neighborhood was still dark when officers reached the 800 block of Bells Mill Road at 6:58 a.m. on March 19, 2025. I've replayed the bodycam timestamps countless times. Floodlights splash across a quiet driveway, and then the camera freezes on a site no one on that block will forget. A man's body laid out on a plastic tarp, a pistol resting on his chest. A single contact wound marked the back of his head. Paramedics declared him dead at 7:07 a.m. For police, that first glance already raised questions. The gun positioned so neatly, the tarp preventing blood from reaching the concrete. Someone had staged this. Within 24 hours, detectives named a suspect, the victim's wife, 39-year-old Danielle Baxter. She was arrested on March 20th and charged with murder, abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, and possessing an instrument of crime. Before we get too deep, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you find value in these discussions. Jordan Baxter, 38, was an easy person to admire. He spent 14 years at SEPTA as a regional rail engineer, loved motorcycles, and doted on his 3 sons. Co-workers remember him always smiling in the corridor. Neighbors describe him as super nice, wave every morning kind of guy. Every interview I read echoes the same phrase. He lived for those boys. On Saturdays, he would jog beside their bicycles. On Sunday nights, he packed lunches so his wife could rest before the school rush. Family affection spilled onto social media. Anniversary selfies, birthday cakes, Jordan's goofy grin beneath the conductor's cap. Each post reinforced the image of a steady, loving father. It's the contrast between these memories and the crime scene photograph that jolts me every time. The smile replaced by silence. Jordan and Danielle were high school friends who grew into partners. Their 11-year wedding anniversary post reads like a prayer. It has not been easy, but God has kept us. Yet scroll forward to March 14, 2025, just 5 days before Jordan's death, and Danielle's tone changed drastically. These females out here be plotting on your marriage, and these men let them. The internet seized on that update after the murder, calling it a warning, or perhaps a confession.
Jackson remains in jail tonight, charged with the murder of her husband, found dead outside of her Roxborough home last week. Tonight we're learning new details about that murder that has shocked the neighborhood.
Neighbors along Bells Mill Road in Andorra remember Jordan Baxter, his wife Danielle, and their 8, 9, and 15-year-old kids as friendly people. But when those who live here woke up last Wednesday, their neighbor's home had become a crime scene.
I woke up to take my daughter to school and looked out the window, and that's where I saw all the chaos.
Philadelphia police tell NBC 10 that they responded to the Baxter's house just before 7 a.m. on March 19th. They found Jordan Baxter unresponsive, lying on a plastic sheet between 2 parked cars with a gun on his chest.
A staging choice detectives spotted immediately because the wound was to the back of the head. A neighbor told Fox 29 she heard one sharp thud, but dismissed it as a car door. Moments later, a different resident dialed 911 after hearing a woman scream. Police have not clarified whether that scream came from Danielle or a witness, but it narrowed the timeline to a window of 3 to 5 minutes between gunshot and discovery. By sunrise on March the 20th, Philadelphia homicide detectives returned with a warrant. Danielle was taken into custody without incident. Her mugshot shows a tear-streaked face, still wearing the sweatshirt seen in her social media selfies. Prosecutors charged her with criminal homicide, abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, possession of an instrument of crime. She was denied bail and transported to Riverside Correctional Facility. Her preliminary hearing was set for April 7th, 2025. As of this week, she remains jailed, still pleading not guilty. Court filings reveal detectives seized Danielle's phone, a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson handgun registered in her name, and home surveillance DVRs. The probable cause affidavit cites digital communications indicating marital conflict and post-incident attempts to sanitize the scene. Yet the affidavit's final paragraph captures the blunt truth. Victim sustained a single contact gunshot wound incompatible with self-infliction given weapon placement. 3 boys, now aged 7, 10, and 13, woke that morning to police lights. They are staying with Jordan's parents, while Child Services evaluates long-term guardianship. At a playground vigil 10 days later, classmates released red and white balloons. Jordan's favorite colors, they said, into a slate-grey sky. "You may be gone, but you'll never be forgotten," a motorcycle-riding co-worker declared over the rumble of idling engines. The GoFundMe created that week surpassed $42,000 in less than 48 hours, donations pouring in from Scepter riders who recognized Jordan's friendly wave through train windows.
Super nice family, 3 kids, never saw any issues. They were both very friendly.
They were just nice neighbors. It must be hard for the family. It must be hard for the children and the parents. I feel bad.
Friends described Danielle's cryptic post as just venting, a reminder that warning signs can blur into everyday online noise until the worst happens. I pored over the discovery motions line by line. Here are the evidence highlights that will shape the courtroom battle. Ballistics. The state lab found a tight muzzle imprint, a point-blank shot, rear entry, angling 15 degrees downward. An angle that makes self-infliction virtually impossible. DNA. Swabs pulled from Danielle's grey sweatshirt came back with Jordan's blood, while her own fingerprints coat the .40 caliber pistol left on his chest. Ring camera timestamp. 6:51 a.m. Jordan walks toward the side door. 7:03 a.m. Danielle drags a tarp-wrapped load into the driveway. 12 minutes. No one else appears. Phone forensics. 6:49 a.m. Jordan texts, "Here to grab my tools, be quick." The message remains unread. Search history. 48 hours before the shooting, Danielle Googled, "Can gunshot residue be washed off skin?" The defense argues she was in acute mental distress after her twin sister's death and not in a rational state. Prosecutors plan to spotlight her March 14th Facebook post as proof of premeditated jealousy. No plea deal is on the table, and the judge has penciled in a late 2025 trial date. Defense motions argue Danielle suffered acute mental distress after losing her twin and was not in a rational state. Prosecutors intend to introduce her March 14th Facebook post as consciousness of guilt, saying she laid groundwork for a jealousy motive. No plea deal has been offered. A trial date will likely be set for late 2025. Jordan's parents, Valerie and Thomas Williams, filed for temporary custody the week after the shooting. Court transcripts show the eldest boy testified privately, confirming arguments between his parents, but denying ever seeing physical violence. Counselors for the Department of Human Services report all 3 children are receiving trauma therapy and express fear of losing both parents. Valerie told reporters outside family court, "The boys need stability. We'll give it." She clutched a stack of their father's baseball caps, promising each child could keep one. "I've covered dozens of Philadelphia homicides, but this case lingers because the warning sounded in plain sight." A single Facebook post glowed red for anyone willing to look closer. 5 days later, Jordan was gone. The gap between online grievance and real-world violence closed in under a week. Domestic violence experts stress that if a loved one's social feed shifts suddenly, cryptic messages, paranoia, talk of betrayal reach out. A call, a visit, or even a police welfare check can save a life. If you or someone you know feels unsafe, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-79-SAFE. Silence can kill. Speaking may spare children the trauma Jordan's boys now carry. Jordan's co-workers still reserve an empty desk in the Elm Street Operations Center. On the monitor sits a looping slideshow of train yard sunsets he captured on night shifts. His supervisor told me, "Every engineer brings home stories." Jordan brought home joy. At the vigil, his cousin Capri Sabam released the final balloon and whispered, "Fly high, cuz." The red sphere climbed above the tree line, past the scepter catenary wires, into a pewter-coloured sky. And for a moment, everyone looked up, imagining Jordan guiding another morning commuter run. May his memory inspire us to listen, to act, and to protect those at risk, before a love story turns to tragedy. I hope this story helps you recognize warning signs and encourage you to seek help or offer support before it's too late. I'll see you in the next episode of Crime of Passion. Thank you for watching.